So Zedcor is a group of guys and girls that are, giving great service is what we pride ourselves on, and we're using cutting edge technology to perform that as well. Why do we do it? Well, we want to improve the safety and security in all the communities where we live, we work. We've seen a huge expansion into what we're doing. Where the business started in 2017, we were an energy service company, a rental company. We had shacks, accommodations for the oil field, generators. We seen the business, obviously, oil and gas was going down. We had solar hybrid light towers coming in. We ordered 130 of them. We're trying to make the company go more greener. The guys at the top of the big machine said they wanted to be green, but you get out to the field level people, they wanted the diesel units. So at that point in time, the Apple pipeline was starting between Edmonton and Calgary. They had, it was the jet fuel line from airport to airport. They had a bunch of their pipe get drilled out. So a good friend of mine came to me, he was on the project. He's like, is there any way you think you could put cameras on the tower and we could monitor the equipment? Not only that, all the Caterpillar equipment on site, generators, fuels getting stolen, batteries getting stolen, they show up to do the work. You know, they lose 2-3 hours in the morning, or could even be longer, right? A lot of the catalytic converter theft on the vehicles as well. So we ended up going down the road. We started with a small trailer on the job site. We seen the expansion that was happening even just on that internal job. Ended up getting a room in Calgary, a monitoring center. That's a center, we outgrew it, and we ended up going to Leduc with it in Edmonton. And then Trans Mountain heard about us and found out, and we actually came up with a sensor technology throughout all this that we could put on the pipe as well, that talked back to a CPU that was in the tower that would send off a vibration. It was a vibration sensor, so it would send an alert back to the room outside of the actual video monitoring. So we ended up going on to Trans Mountain. You know, prior to that, the question I always would get is what happens after Apple Pipeline's over? Well, Trans Mountain came. So we're living and breathing today, Trans Mountain pipeline ending. We're down, we peaked out about 190 towers. We're down to 30. It's been a great contract. Probably made Zedcor the company it honestly is. Everybody's seen that project in the media, all the different levels of everything. It's like, they've watched the dark web for stuff that's happening with all the protesters and everything. And it taught us to be a very good security company. So at that point in time, we ended up, the biggest challenge that Amin and I had was capital, right? We had this energy service side that wasn't doing great. Our debt to EBITDA was about 4.3 times debt to EBITDA. So we came up with the idea, let's get the oil field side going. Sold it off, became 100% security, straight security solutions play. So at that point in time, we went down under one times. Banks lined up. We started our expansion. We opened up in Chilliwack. And then from there, it's just started our expansion across Canada. Like I said earlier, the biggest question we get is what happens after you're just an energy service pipeline company. And we wanted to prove we weren't. Today we're in Ottawa, Winnipeg, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, and Edmonton. And myself, I've just moved to Houston. We're expanding into the U.S. markets. Our biggest problem was bottleneck with suppliers of the actual tower being built. We're taking that in-house to a bunch of different manufacturers down there, assemble our own product, and then put our communications on them. So it's an exciting time for Zedcor. 2022, like I said, we expanded across the country, made the Globe and Mail top growing companies, and then we exited last year with 500 towers. Plans are we will exit this year over 900. Go ahead of me. Value proposition with Zedcor. How it works is we'll come out to your job site. Obviously, bigger projects are a different thing, but if it's a one-off job site, we come out, do a site assessment, determine what you need for equipment, determine what your monitoring hours are. Some places we do fixed sites where the cameras stay forever. There's the old phrase we had, dirt to finish. We'll help you out with the job being built, and then we'll end the job with the cameras on the buildings as well. So, and then we determine your monitoring hours. So could be 24 hours a day, 6 to 6, weekends, 24 hours, obviously, depending on each job site. And this is all supported by live monitoring. That's what cuts us apart. Some of our competitors, for example, they do monitoring, it's done overseas. We believe in doing it locally. Like when I say locally, I mean in Canada. If you're in the US, we have centers set up in the US. We're not streaming the video over to the Philippines and then they're responding to a center here and then it gets dealt with. Go ahead, Amin. So what makes us different? Like I said, the 24-hour monitoring, we're not set in stone. We'll work with any client to, making the job site however they need it to be. Some situations we have cameras on a post to talk to our towers. We can get quite creative. Centralized surveillance. We've talked about, if in the U.S. would you have it? There's some rules around videos going back and forth across the borders. The U.S. is a lot more sticky on it. Video coming in than video coming out. We use all our products are access. They're made in Sweden. There's the different governments have figured that maybe they're possibly getting in through the Chinese cameras and different theories and stuff. So whether, even that's true or not, when we started this, we ended up going with the access product, which is used in all the airports and casinos. And to be quite honest, when we first got into it, we could have went with any one of them, but thankfully we picked one of the top products and we went down that road. And everything we have has advanced AI. Now the AI's got quite a bit better. Like you can have a job site, for example, if a car or human comes in, it'll set off the alarm, but a piece of plastic blowing on the fence won't set the alarm off. That's where the businesses went to. The biggest thing I use with my team is change. This company's changed. When I think of Zedcor, that's what I think of change. We're constantly changing. If you think you have the best mousetrap, you won't stay ahead of everybody. We've just upgraded every one of our towers to a new camera that came out. It was our multi-sensor, the PTZ, the pan tilt zoom ones always had a processor, but this has allowed us to have the AI built into the camera. Obviously, Zedcor, you can see in the book what we make for EBITDA. We're not doing the R&D on these cameras. The guys doing these are big machines. Access is owned by Canon. They spend the money on the R&D. Zedcor doesn't have to do that. Everything we can do is mobile or temporary. We also do have a guard solution, ex-law enforcement, ex-military. Not a big crew of guys. We have a pool of probably 20 to 30 people we can pull from. Big machines like Kiera, they had some well sites that the towers are spread out, but they wanted somebody out there roving, so we also bring them in as well. Go ahead, Amin. There's 3 styles of towers we have. The solar hybrid is the original one we started out with. How that works, it's a 48 volt lithium pack. The machine, once the battery hits down to 20, the pack, it calls on it to start. It runs for an hour, charges the batteries up, runs about an hour a day. So the expectancy of those machines are quite long. You got to have an engine in them that lasts 20,000 hours. These run anywhere from 350 to 500 hours a year. We're finding now with when these were first created, they were designed to be a light tower. Now we have the lights on motion. So if somebody enters the site, the lights come on. We're even seeing in the summertime, they don't even start for a month. So, and then the next one down on the bottom right is our electric plug-in one. That plugs into the same plug-in in the wall here. It has a battery backup. Thieves come in, unplug it. They think they've shut you down because the lights are out. Camera's got IR. We're still watching them. The battery backup goes for 40 hours. What we're doing now is we're adding solar panels to that unit, going with 4 AGM batteries that are slims. They'll last, it'll run straight on solar. So that's kind of what we're playing with right now in Houston, and that's as far as R&D is going with the product. And so we're excited about that, how that'll work well in Canada on these job sites, 8 months a year. They won't have to have their machines plugged in. Winter comes. Most of them have heaters running and stuff anyway, so it's going to be a great product for the U.S. and Canada as well. A lot more to this than security. There's a safety aspect. There's comes down to doing due diligence. If there's an accident, who's liable, who's not liable. Unfortunately, we have had a couple job site incidents that led to death that we've been involved with video supplying, and it's helped the owner of the property or the project to prove who was at fault. So fire watch is another thing we're starting to get into, the thermal cameras capability. And then also for a COO or a COO or a VP of operations, he can watch all his job sites. He can go into a portal, they can steer the cameras. If they go in and play the camera, it auto sets back to where it was so that they're not messing up our settings. Saves a guy a lot of travel if you want to just check a few job sites and be able to talk to a guy about the project over the phone. Right, I mean? Technology capabilities, I've covered a lot of this already. I sometimes get ahead of myself, but we're the largest fleet in Canada right now at 700 and some towers. I'd say our next competitors behind us are maybe 40 to 50. If even that, we're going to exit the year, like I said, 900. And the biggest thing for a client, we save a lot of cost, right? So the boots on the ground guy sitting in a car at night, your 12-hour shift, minimum, with vehicle, minimum wage these days, you're about $25 minimum. an hour, maybe 22, 12 hours, $300. You can rent 2 of our towers for that $150 a day range, so you've cut that in half. Plus, let's be honest, if 3 guys come into a site and you're alone in a vehicle, what are you going to do? You know what? You're going to be somewhat rattled and want to get out of there, right? And where all this is captured video, our people are phoning in from a controlled environment. They're on the phone with the police. The police are coming to the site. We're actually telling them they're behind this ECAN on the north side of the yard. The police love it, right, when we call them, because we're like a big brother eye in the sky for them. It adds safety to what they're doing, right, in the policing world today. And like I said earlier, everything's live, verified response. That's our biggest thing. And then the 360-degree coverage. And everything is supplied also with LED lights. Obviously, when you're on the straight solar, they don't work because that's what drains the batteries, but the infrared and the cameras replace that. Go ahead, Amin. U.S. expansion. The first goal is the expansion right now is before the end of the year. Is we're getting I'm building kind of the new prototype. We're getting it designed for heavy wind ratings as well, changing it up a bit. We've got some clients down on the Gulf there that would like to have them out to be able to watch for hurricane stuff coming. They know that the tower would probably be damaged, but it'd help them make some better decisions leading up to it. So we're doing some rugged testing there, and then obviously the goal is to save about 15 to 20% in R&D. Next year we plan on building 1,000 units, so at 22, 23,000 Canadian a unit completely rigged up. If we can shave 4 or 5 million off of 23 million, it'll be great, right? So, and then obviously we're going to use our branch model in phase 2. Start setting branches up. The goal is to be in Houston, Dallas, San Antonio. We've got a crossover clients from Canada as well that want us in Phoenix. Obviously, we got to kind of keep a gauge on it. You can't just go where everybody wants you because it'll get away on us as well. But we've known what the branch model looks like. We've proved it out by opening in Winnipeg, Toronto, Ontario. It's not, it's not the typical hub and spoke where you need to have 1 branch in the city and 5 in the surrounding area. We don't have in and out coming traffic. A short job for us is 6 months, long jobs 5 to 7 years. So, like Winnipeg, for example, I think we're $3,800 a month for the building, small yard, small office, small team, and those guys can run up to 75 to 100 towers. So it's just going to be a plug and play, copy paste the branches. So we're getting a lot better at it, because we've taken our learnings from going across the country in Canada as well. And as I said, here's the branches: Calgary, Vancouver, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, and now you can see the breakdown of the towers there. 27%. It's starting to really change across the country. We were so labeled as an energy service pipeline company that it's been our goal to see this happen. People asked, why are you going to Toronto so soon? And we wanted to get the footprint out, and people ask me all the time, how many more towers can Canada take? We haven't even scratched the surface, to be quite honest. And you got this platform of branches set up. 100 towers is only given, it wouldn't even be 20 per branch with 6 branches, right? So building that a month, and we just start getting the platform built more and more. And we're looking at some different avenues to where to go with clients. Some of the big retail stores have come to us asking if we'd sell them for parking lots. So there's the chance of maybe we do sell them the towers and do a licensing agreement at the end. So we're kicking things around, but I'm going to pass it over to Amin Alati. He's going to run us through the financial side.
Thanks, Todd. So I won't go through this line by line, but as Todd was mentioning earlier, how big can this get? We get that question all the time. So we started doing some research into kind of the verticals and the areas we're focused on in the 2 regions of Canada and Texas. We subscribe to this platform that helps with sales. It kind of gives us how many construction sites there are in Canada. There's about 12,000 construction sites that could take anywhere from 1 to 3 security towers per site. There's a lot in Texas as well. There's about 10,000. So just kind of looking at areas we focus on right now being construction, energy and renewables, big box retail and car dealerships, infrastructure construction, so that'd be your pipelines, utility lines. There's about 40,000 sites just in those 2 regions of Canada and Texas that we can put security towers on, where right now they're using either the traditional security guard, a roving security guard that goes from site to site to site, and the thieves just follow them right afterward and rob it as they leave, or they use the traditional lock and key, which doesn't work anymore. We're kind of a cost-friendly solution that for $2,500 a month, we could provide thousands of dollars of security savings. So it's not a big cost incentive. So even if we get a fraction of that market, we're going to increase the revenue significantly. So huge market potential, industry agnostic, customer agnostic. Just some year-to-date financial highlights. Just being public, we can only talk about the first 6 months. Our Q3 will be coming out in November. First half of the year, we had $12.6 million of revenue, adjusted EBITDA of $4 million. So that grew about 28% compared to the first half of 2022. As Todd mentioned, the Trans Mountain pipeline is coming to an end, so those numbers are a bit down as the pipeline wound down in Q1. Q3, we're back up to Q1 levels of revenue. Q2 was a reallocation period, and the sales team did a great job diversifying away from that customer risk. We had positive earnings, 4 cents per share. We successfully deployed 173 security towers in the first half of the year. The goal is to exit the year with about 900. We continued Eastern Canada expansion. At the start of 2022, we only had towers in Western Canada. First half of 2023, about 33% of the fleet is located in Eastern Canada, being Manitoba and Ontario. None of that existed 18 months ago. And we continue to diversify our revenue streams away from the core pipeline customers. Some customer wins in the first half of the year. NMAX, Volker Steven, they're big construction companies in Calgary. NMAX does the utility work in Calgary. ECS Engineering, they build all the Petro-Canada and Shell stations across the country. Plan is to kind of put a security tower in each of their construction sites. And a couple of wins after Q2 that we didn't have on here. Cirque du Soleil, Home Depot, we never imagined we'd be in the retail space or the event space. We did the Canadian National Exhibition security tower space. They love the product. They've already signed on for next year. Cirque du Soleil takes us across the country, security towers from Toronto all the way out to Vancouver. We just wrapped up in Calgary. We're coming to Vancouver next. They might do some work with us in the States as well. So we never imagined we'd be in the events and retail space, but that's the growing, exciting market where they sign commitments and terms. So it's a big win. How big is the fleet size going to get? Kind of over the next 3 years, we anticipate a quadrupling roughly, about 4,000 security towers by 2026. Why are we growing so big? As Todd mentioned, we have customers across all verticals: construction, mining, energy, agriculture, retail. Those are the big markets. 18 to 24 month payback, so they pay the equipment back quickly, and about a 24% return on invested capital. So good metrics on that front as well, and a huge opportunity to take advantage of ESG and government infrastructure spending. So there's utility lines that have to be replaced across the U.S. One of the customers we work for, they have a huge utility line division in the U.S. So there's opportunity there as well. As they replace roads, municipalities put infrastructure spending. Huge opportunity to take advantage of that from a security perspective. Primarily, our revenue streams are consistent of the security towers themselves, fixed site monitoring contracts. That's a smaller space where we only want to focus on larger customers like Ritchie Brothers or Cooper Equipment Rentals, that we do the fixed sites for them. Ultimately, we want to focus on the security towers. We feel that's a big deterrent that deters crimes. Lots of time thieves will see cameras on buildings, they ignore it, not really being monitored. It's just more of a deterrent. Home Depot seeing this, and they're going to share the stats with us of how the theft at their stores have come down with the security towers. There's one just down the road here at the Terminal Avenue store in Home Depot, and their theft has come down dramatically. Liability has come down dramatically with homeless people and drug deals going down in their stores after hours. So, and then security guards, that would be for high-risk sites. Kira, they do energy infrastructure. We have security towers and a high-level security guard roaming between to support the security guards, support the security tower, sorry. The big thing I want to talk about on this slide is kind of the revenue diversification. As you can see on the pie chart, the bulk of the revenue previously came from pipeline construction. That's shifted away dramatically as Trans Mountain and Coastal GasLink have wound down, and we've shifted that revenue into municipal construction, retail, and other sectors. So it's been a big diversification of risk away from the core Revenue and EBITDA growth. So for 2023, we plan to do about 25.5 million of revenue, 8.2 of EBITDA. 2024, we plan to again double the fleet size, do about 34 million of revenue, 14 million of EBITDA. What a fleet of 1,800 security towers allows us to do on a run rate basis. We generate just under $4 million of monthly revenue on 85% utilization. There's ability to push that to 90 to 95% as we get into more kind of fixed sites like retail sites. And at current EBITDA levels allows us to generate over 15 million of EBITDA. There might be some potential for margin expansion heading into the future. We invested in the AI cameras. That cuts down the number of alarms, cuts down streaming costs, cuts down monitoring costs. So there's potential for some expansion there as well. Our valuation at Q2, we had an enterprise value of 60 million. We were trading about 7.3 enterprise value to EBITDA ratio. Based on our kind of conversations with the investment bankers and some research we've done on our own, we should be in that 8 to 12 times EV multiple. So there's some expansion potential there as well as we get the story out and we kind of market this a bit more. And what we've seen is that 8 to 12 times multiple is kind of on traditional security companies. We think we're a little bit stronger than that given our payback period and our return on invested capital and vertical integration that we're getting into. Just a quick snapshot of our cap table. We have just under 74 million common shares outstanding, 84 fully diluted. We have some warrants that we have to clean up, so that'll be done in the next little bit. First tranche expires March 24. The next chunk expires in November of 24. So, management team, Todd CEO. You got myself, James. He headed out the expansion out east. He's our chief revenue officer, and we just hired Tony about a year ago. He's our executive vice president in Calgary. Been a huge help. Helped us get the Home Depot contract. Strong background in construction and sales. Our board of directors consists of Wade Valesky, he's our chairman, big capital markets experience. Dean Swanberg, he's our largest shareholder and Todd's original business partner that founded Zedcor. Dean Shillington and Brian McGill round out the board.
Thanks you guys.
For your time.
Thanks for letting us tell our story.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.